So I figured out why England didn't win the Euros. It's because you didn't subscribe, you son of a bitch. So guys, the Euros is over and we can start drawing our attention to the Fantasy Premier League game and start to draft with our teams again, think over the promoted teams and if any of their options are viable, and try and fit as many of those big hitters in as possible as we move closer to the game week 1 deadline. So today we're going to revisit my initial draft and we're going to look at the fixtures for that draft and my new draft using the fixture ticker from the Fantasy Football Hub to see if my players have good fixtures. Yes, form over fixtures, but also we want our players to have good fixtures where they can score plenty of goals or get plenty of assists and clean sheets. So if you want to check out the fixture ticker that I am using, top link in the description down below, Fantasy Football Hub. Signing up with them does help support the channel, so do go and check them out. And also help this video out by hitting that like button, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell as we go through a month of content for you guys to get ready for the Fantasy Premier League season. So let's look at my initial draft and what areas I'm planning on fixing. So on the screen we can see the draft as it was about 2 weeks ago when the game was released, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, and we can see that we've got some players in there that I am likely to have in my starting side in game week 1 come August the 13th, 14th. And that includes the likes of Sanchez, who I do think is a great value goalkeeper at 4.5 million, and his ownership being as high as it is means I am interested in starting off the season with him, just so his clean sheets don't affect my season too much. Trent and Mohamed Salah, I just think Trent or Robertson are one of the best defenders you could possibly get in the game, especially if Liverpool are in form. And Mohamed Salah has been one of the highest scoring players in the league every season since he has joined the Premier League, and I think going without him is very risky until you see a bit more info as the season progresses. We've also got Bruno Fernandez in here at 12 million. This is mainly because if we're looking at Man United as a side, Fernandez was one of their main players last season, and other options like the Man City boys, there's a bit of a risk of rotation, and I believe KDB isn't going to start the Premier League season this year, so that's another reason to not have KDB, and other people in this price bracket just aren't as appealing as Bruno is. Up front, we've got some very popular strikers in the likes of Watkins and Antonio. I think I'm probably going to keep those two, although of course there are other options like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Callum Wilson and Patrick Bamford, but I think with the fixtures the way they are, Watkins and Antonio are likely to stay on the side. Rafinha is just great value at 6.5 million, which is why he makes so many teams, because you get to a point where you don't really have the cash to splash about, and Rafinha really helps you out there. And then you do have some great options like Ayling on the bench, but there are areas, of course, that I'm a bit worried about. One being Foster, in case something happens to Sanchez. Williams still hasn't made the move yet to Southampton, which is rumoured. Obafemi isn't the greatest bench option. Buendia is new to Aston Villa, although I think I'm likely to keep him for now, again, because of trying to fit in the likes of Fernandez and Salah. And Ismail Sarr back to the Premier League. Again, not too certain on him, and Masawaka's starting time is a bit of a risk. So, what changes have I made? Well, the first change you can see is we've moved over from Digne to Luke Shaw. Now, I will have to check that Luke Shaw is going to be ready for the start of the Premier League season, but he has had a great Euros and has shown what great delivery he has and the ability, like he did in the final, to get into the box and score some goals. So if he can bring that to his season in the 2021-22 season, then I think Shaw is a great pick. And Man United are second on the fixture ticker over on Fantasy Football Hub, with Leeds, Southampton, Wolves, Newcastle, West Ham and Aston Villa in the first 6. Only Brighton have a better run of 6 fixtures, and of course we've got that covered with Sanchez. As soon as I know Tariq Lamptey is a starter, Lamptey could come into my starting 11, but we don't know that for certain yet, which is why he's not there. Veltman could also be a possibility if Lamptey isn't starting, but for now we're just going for the single Brighton player. Liverpool also have a decent run of first fixtures, which is why Trent stays in the side, and although Leicester City's run of 6 fixtures isn't amazing, as it does have the likes of Man City in there and West Ham, I do like Fofana at 4.5 million and could see him rise in price as the season progresses. And we want to be getting on board those price rises this season, which isn't something I've really focused on before. So that is the back three for the start of the season. But we do have 2 defenders on the bench, of course, as well as a goalkeeper. And We're hoping Ryan goes somewhere else other than Brighton, which means Steele would be the replacement for Sanchez if anything happened to him, and stays at that 4 million price tag. We've got Luke Ayling as well, 4.5 million, I think, great value option. And to be honest, he underperformed his underlying stats for attempts on goal, not getting any attacking returns. But this season, it could be a little bit different. And I'm hoping Leeds don't have that second season curse. And then Danny Rose comes in at 4.5 million as well. I think Watford are the team with the best fixtures for a promoted side. And I'm hoping he can get some attacking returns for Watford. But like I said, the likes of Brighton's Lamptey and Veltman are definitely under consideration. And if Williams does make the move to Southampton, we could go that way as well. Moving on to the midfield and the starting four. And as you can see now, we're going for 3-4-3 because I just think bench-wise, you get the most value for your money if you go with 2 defenders and 1 midfielder on the bench than if you go with a 4.5 million striker, because at least you're getting starters on that bench. But the midfield, we're going with Rafinha, Buendia, Fernandez and Salah. Now, like I said earlier, Rafinha is just such great value right now at 6.5 million. And if Buendia brings his creativity to Aston Villa with the likes of Watkins and maybe Jack Grealish around him, I think Buendia could be great value for money. We'll see what happens with Jack. I don't particularly like going for new players at new clubs at the beginning of the season, but Buendia just seems like the best option at 6.5. Then, of course, Fernandez and Salah, I've explained why they are in the side. Man United, second best run of fixtures. Liverpool, the fifth best run of fixtures. So I just think those two are must-have for the beginning of the season, and then we can evaluate from there. Aston Villa are around mid-table with their fixtures. They have Watford, Newcastle and Brentford, though, in the first 3, which is a fantastic first 3 fixtures. And then we do look at Leeds and think potentially that first fixture, Man United, isn't great. But then they do have the likes of Everton, Burnley before Liverpool, and then Newcastle, West Ham after that Liverpool game. So not too bad there. The fifth midfielder at the moment is Gilmour after his move to Norwich. Now, Norwich don't have great fixtures. Let's just make that clear. They are bottom of the fixture table for their first 6 fixtures, with the likes of Liverpool, Man City and Leicester as the first 3. Arsenal follows that, and then they do get Watford in game week 5. But at 4.5 million, I think Gilmour will be a starter for Norwich. I'm definitely excited to see what he can do in that Norwich side. And then finally, the front 3, and it is missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Patrick Bamford, and of course, Harry Kane as we wait to see what happens with him. But we've gone with Antonio, Watkins and Wilson. Now, Antonio stays in the side, but of course I will be monitoring his fitness. West Ham do have Newcastle in the first game of the season. Then it's Leicester, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Man United and Leeds. And I think if no one else is bought at West Ham, he's a guaranteed starter and hopefully will get me some points. Watkins is the one that we're hoping for a good amount of points from, especially with that first 3 run of fixtures again of Watford, Newcastle and Brentford. And I think there could be a lot of creativity behind him, especially if they do somehow manage to pry Smith Rowe from Arsenal's hands. And then we have Callum Wilson, who, to be honest, this is the area where it could turn to a different striker. But Newcastle do have West Ham, who, to be honest, were conceding goals at the end of last season. Aston Villa, Southampton. Then it's Man United, Leeds and Watford. Now, I could, of course, look at other players like Iheanacho, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Patrick Bamford. But Newcastle's run of fixtures is slightly better than Leeds. Potentially not better than Leicester's first 3, but Leicester have bought a new striker recently. And as for Everton, with a new manager in place, again, I'm not too sure I want to jump on that bandwagon, although Everton's fixtures are definitely trying to persuade me to go towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with the likes of Southampton, Leeds, Brighton Hove Albion, Burnley, Aston Villa and Norwich in the first 6. So definitely an area that could change in this side is getting some Everton coverage. But if I'm going to put my money on defenders, I think Shaw's a better pick than Digne, but Calvert-Lewin could be a better pick than Callum Wilson. We'll also be keeping a very close eye on Wolves to see if Raul Jimenez can return to form after his injury that took him out most of last season. Wolves having Leicester and Tottenham in the first 2, Man United third, but then it's Watford, Brentford and Southampton, so that's 3 game weeks where I can watch Raul Jimenez. And Brentford's start to the season is pretty bad, which is why we don't have Tony yet, but he could be a significant price riser if he has a good start to the season with those fixtures. So guys, that is it for this video for my second attempted draft for the Fantasy Premier League game. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to get your content here for the Fantasy Premier League season, the 2021-22 season, here on FPL Today. Also, check out Fantasy Football Hub, top link in the description. That is where I got my fixture ticker from and where I get all the stats that will be shown on my videos leading up to the Game Week 1 deadline. In the comments down below, let me know any players you think I haven't even mentioned that I should really be considering. I'm betting someone says Jadon Sancho. And with that being said, I've been JNO. This has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.